Oh, would you have a look? Frank's only gone and joined DAZN, isn't he? Oh, yes, our times change.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. And listen, there's an upside on this, Demetrius. You're not fighting on an app. People are going to see you.
Love it. But here he is, and to celebrate Queensberry joining DAZN, they're running a blinding flash sale. With my link below, you can get 30% off DAZN annual plans. Oh yes, that'll include Heavy Impact coming up first, and then all the Queensberry, Matchroom and Golden Boy events from here on out, assuming they're not pay-per-view of course. But yes, over 185 fights, not too bad, eh? Terrific stuff, have some of that. Anyway, yes, talk about making an entrance. Frankie Boy's bowled in with a great big heavyweight cracker. Joyce versus Dillian Whyte, Lawrence Okolie versus Richard fuck a duck. These two have gone and bollocksed it all up, ain't they? Okay, fair dues. Dillian Whyte went straight to TalkSport to show us his injury, and it did look pretty minging. So okay, just bad luck it seems. But then what about Lawrence Okolie? Yeah, I mean, such a shame, innit? Such a shame he had to pull out of this fight barely 24 hours after being elevated to number one in the WBC, meaning he's on the brink of a world title fight and a much bigger payday than the Riakporhe fight. What an absolute choker, eh? Poor bastard. And all that work he's done to get there as well, you know, losing to Billum Smith and beating a journeyman called Mohammed. Nice a fucking bitch, isn't it? I mean, could you make it any more fucking obvious? Bloody hell. No real explanation, no proof of injury. Riakporhe ain't heard a sausage either.
You know, a lot of people have spoken to me, a lot of people in my messages, they believe that Okolie was very scared, has been scared of me for a very long time. I've not heard anything either. My team said they're going to inquire and ask for like proof of injury, but there's been nothing. Me personally, I don't think he was injured.
Yeah, anyway, forgetting all that bollocks, let's roll on the Juggernaut versus El Animal. Joyce versus Filip Hrgovic. And yes, is it actually a better fight than the Dillian Whyte fight? Is it a harder fight for Joe? These are the burning questions. And well, personally, I'm expecting it to be a good fight. I don't know about a better fight, because Dillian's only ever got one game plan, and that is to take the head off whoever is in front of him. He's usually in quite exciting fights, isn't he? But in terms of a harder fight, well, yes, it may well be. But first of all, let's talk about old Joseph. Well, it's fair to say it's been a rocky few years for Joe, and many would agree it's quite baffling where he is now compared to where he was in 2022.
He's in that last round, and Joyce has responded. Oh, what a shot! He's gone, the left hand from Joyce.
So I mean, how did this happen, eh? Well, let's recap quickly. The Juggernaut was a standout amateur who fought a load of familiar faces in his early days, from AJ to Fraser. He went the distance with Usyk and even had a dance with old Hrgovic back then as well, beating him by decision. Then he finished off his amateur career as a silver medalist who was robbed against Yoko Ono in the Rio Olympics in 2016. But all in all, a career with flying colours. Then, although turning pro rather late at the age of 31, he went on to wipe out everyone in his first 10 fights very convincingly. In fact, he started at a higher level than every single heavyweight on the planet today, facing the very experienced Ian Lewison in his first fight, then going on to become Commonwealth champion, destroying Lemroy Thomas in only his fourth fight, just after Lemroy had beaten Dave Allen for it in Sheffield. And yes, he was only 11 fights into his career when the opportunity came to fight for the British title against the now world champion and formidable Daniel Dubious.
Will Joyce do here? Will he just keep coming forward, or will he tend to box at range and try and out-jab?
Joyce just trying to take the rhythm out of Dubois with that left-hand lead. Good right hand again from Dubois, and Joyce walks straight, and now comes the big toe-to-toe exchange.
Yes, there are flashes of what he can do, and we all know that the power he's got, but he's probably not working hard enough, and he's just being outworked a little bit. Oh dear, it's the left eye, and he's gone down with the jab. He's had enough, he doesn't want any more.
Now let's not get it twisted, Daniel Dubious may have more experience nowadays, but back in 2020 he fought exactly the same way as he does now. He had exactly the same power, and he was just as dangerous. On top of that, he was 15 fights into his career, so he was even more experienced technically, to be able to take everything that Danny Boy had, let it all bounce off his great big solid fucking cranium, and then basically box Daniel's head off, shows you how much of a force he was back then. And this was of course reaffirmed soon after in the finest display of his career against former world champion Joseph Parker.
12 rounds of action underway.
There it is there. There's that right hand.
And the left as well, but Joyce just keeps on coming, and it's really warming up here in the third. Oh, great right hand from Parker, but Joyce takes it And what a chin this man has got.
Yeah,
that landed absolutely flush and he just blinked. Again, there's still blood trickling down from that injured eye.
From Joyce also, John.
Parker has shown immense heart staying in this to this point.
And then Joyce has responded.
Oh, what a shot! He's gone, the left hand from Joyce.
So yet again, nothing can be taken away from this win either. This was a fresh 30-year-old former world champion, and Joe did what AJ and Dillian Whyte couldn't do, absolutely pummeled him and knocked him almost spark out. Fair play. So then at this point in time, he was a bit of a monster, to be honest. Nobody wanted to smoke. Remember how Fury could have fought him a few months later instead of fighting Chisora? But after seeing what he did to Parker, he said, nah, sorry Joe bruv, you need to build up your profile. You need some more social media followers, so I'm going to fight Dillboy instead. Alright, terrific, okay. Forgot to mention that Joe happened to have more followers than fucking Dillboy. What a load of bollocks anyway. So just look at the comments around this time. Everyone was so high on Joseph. He was talk of the town. He's massive, he's got an amazing engine, plenty of power, full of heart, and he has this one useful skill that no other heavyweight has. He could block heavy punches with his fucking face. Genius. I mean, how do you do it, Joe?
I'm sorry, again?
Terrific. Thanks for clearing that up, Joseph. But then what comes next? Maybe wait around for a world title shot or take a keep busy fight in between, but nothing too strenuous? Well, no, not quite. Enter Filip Bang. Yes, old Bigger Bang was always a solid fighter. He was a quick southpaw and he was double powerful. He had one controversial loss to Hrgovic, which, let's be honest, he won. But even so, every man he'd fought had touched the canvas or had been stopped, which is still the case to this day, by the way. So this was a very brave and brash move for Joe. It's fair to say he never got enough credit for taking a beastly fight like this when he was in prime position. He certainly didn't have to do it, and I bet now he wish he fucking didn't. But yes, there was always the premise that after 6 rounds, Zhang is notorious for looking absolutely shattered every single time. So it was hard to not see the Juggernaut engine being Zhang's kryptonite and the Juggernaut chin prevailing once again. However, that turned out to not be the case. So yes, it was clear to see he was having trouble with the southpaw stance, but ultimately the major problem for the 256-pound Joe, who fought Parker at 271 pounds, the major problem for him was that the Juggernaut, for the first time in his career, just couldn't juggernaut. His jab was ineffective, his power was being walked through, and he couldn't get himself on that front foot. All in all, he looked to be half the man he was 7 months prior, and things would go from bad to worse when he got another shot.
His own back of the head. Protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves.
Joyce throwing punches, but he's not really throwing punches with any mean intent in there. He seems to be holding them back, Richie. He's not committing, is he? Big left, right down the pipe again. Zhang looks to unload. Joyce's face starting to redden. Cannot avoid the left hand. Joyce has to take a backward step, then he's caught again. These are extremely worrying moments here in the second round for Joyce. He's coming there. Oh, what a shot! Right hand, Joe Joyce face down.
Now yet again, fair play for having the balls to take such a rematch, but unfortunately this credit was overshadowed by the performance, and there's not a lot to say really. In a nutshell, Zhang will just always have Joe's number, and that's that. So then moving on to Joe's return to the ring, he clearly weren't too inspired by fighting Cash Ali, showing up very out of shape, but even so, it was certainly noticeable that something was missing from Big Jugs. A couple of years prior he would have absolutely smashed Cash Ali to bits in about 3 rounds. But now, for some reason, the wrecking machine just weren't wrecking, and neither was it wrecking in the Chisora fight not too long after. I mean, had it been a few years back when he was at his best, you'd have thought that Dilboy was an absolutely tailor-made style opponent for him. But on this night, he just didn't have the answers. Yes, okay, he had some success, but he just couldn't capitalise on it, and then it all went tits up in the final couple of rounds. So what happened then? Fuck knows. I mean, he was flying high as a kite pre-2023, but it just looked like Zhang took so much away from Joe in that first fight. He took away his invincibility, he took away his ability to dominate, and on top of that, he took away his undefeated record. And that first taste of defeat in the pro game must be quite a sickening thing. And you know, just like Michael Conlon after losing to Lee Wood, much like Josh Warrington after the beating from Maurizio Lara, just to name a few, like them lot, Joe simply ain't been the same since. In boxing, I suppose these things happen. I mean, looking back, as much as it was impressive seeing him take mega punches flush on the chin, you gotta say, in hindsight, that kinda did make him a bit of an accident waiting to happen. But in terms of his overall performances of late, it's hard to really pinpoint why they've been so much flatter compared to the Parker and Dubious years. Maybe it's a bit of age, maybe it's a bit of love lost in the game, who knows? Only the man himself does. However, he's got one final crack at redemption on April the 5th against Phil. Oh yes. Now Phil is very experienced, he's very talented, he's very tough, and he probably could have been knocking on the world title door with Parker and Caballero. But he's not. I don't know why, but in the tougher fights at a high level like Dubious and Zhang, it's almost like he cannot be fucked. If it ain't going his way, he's got no interest and he switches off.
And Zhang might have stolen this round by rocking Hrgovic as he does again with the right hook. And Hrgovic again thankful to hear the bell.
Fought this way before. He's moving around like a middleweight.
Good uppercuts on the inside from Zhang. Hrgovic looking a little wobbly and hanging on right now. The body language of Hrgovic not looking positive to me, guys.
It's bad, Corey. That body language of Hrgovic is telling you the guy that looks like he's had a lot of the fight taken out of him.
Great right hand from Dubois. Hrgovic looks like he's running short on ideas. Dubois comes on again and starts to pile it on. Beaten by the bell in terms of a stoppage there, Daniel Dubois.
Now, of course, that was a great win for Danny Boy, but let's have it right. Hrgovic was teeing off on his head early doors, yet as soon as he realised Dubious could take his power and he weren't going anywhere, Phil just kind of retreated and looked uninspired, allowing Daniel to take hold of the fight. So back to this fight, and had this been the 2022 version of Joe Joyce, that version is Phil's worst nightmare. A man full of heart, constantly coming forward and able to walk through bombs. I reckon Joe would have obliterated him and stopped him within 8 rounds back then, but the question is, can he do it now? Well, in order to win, he really does need to be full on juggernaut in this fight. I mean, we know Hrgovic is likely to be landing constantly. Unfortunately for Joe, a lot of people do. It's almost become his fucking trademark. So yes, early doors, Hrgovic may well do what he was doing to Daniel. However, if the bulldozing Joe Joyce can show up, then it wouldn't be a surprise to see him break this man's already broken heart late on in the fight. Because he don't like the pressure, he just don't want to be there when it's on him, and to be fair, he ain't got the best defence himself. Like Joe, he's a bit guilty of not moving his head enough. Now don't get me wrong, yes, it looks like the juggernaut destroyer of old has gone nowadays, but if he can produce some shades of that wrecking machine, then he'll definitely cause Phil a lot of problems. He showed in the Chisora fight he's still got a double decent engine, so that could play a major factor. We shall see. All in all though, there's no other way to say it, it's shit or bust, innit? Roll on April the 5th. Anyway, get involved with DAZN's blinding deal, link below, and enjoy the show.